Hey gals and ghouls, this is the Paranormal Panda, and today I figured I should do one of my mini paranormal experiences. And so, um, yeah, um, so it probably started, this paranormal experience at least, when I was still in elementary school, and I was sleeping one night in my room when I heard, rustling. I had just moved in with my real dad. Um, and I heard rustling through my bags where I had all my stuffed animals and all that stuff. And, you know, I grew up hearing a lot of things like whispering and movement and stuff like that. So I learned to just kind of ignore it and pretty much tell myself that it's not really happening, and then I just go to sleep. Well, I heard all this rustling, and I was like kind of scared, so I thought, okay, I'll just ignore it like I always do, and it usually goes away. Um, well, of course, right when I started to fall asleep, and for some reason, every um, entity seems to want to wait until you're half asleep so it can scare you to death, I heard this loud crashing sound, and of course, almost scared me half to death. And the only way I can describe it is if you were to take blinds that you put on your window and throw them across the room. Um, it scared me to like death. I literally lay there like paralyzed from fear when I was little. I don't know how old I would have been, and just laid there and I'm like, oh my god, I never had anything act violent towards me, which is what I would consider it. And so, of course, I jumped up, and how you're little, you always think lights are like your savior. So I turned on the light, and I made sure the first thing I looked was to make sure my blinds didn't fall off of my window, and they were still there. My windows were closed, there was no outside noise, and it sounded like it was coming right from my room. And so I pretty much ran out of my room, told my mom, and after that I slept in my sister's room the entire time I lived there. Um, Towards the end, before we moved, I would sleep in my room only if the lights were on. I became temporarily afraid of the dark. Um, but my mom told me that she heard rustling in my room and she thought it was just me going through my stuff. So I thought that was weird. And, you know, it was funny because after everyone woke up, because I was too afraid to go to sleep that night, we all sat on the couch and we could still hear something like going through my bags. And there was no animals in my room or anything like that. So, I pretty much did not sleep in my room after that. I don't know what it was. I mean, according to our landlady, a little boy had died there, so I don't know if he was just mad. Maybe I was in his room and he didn't like me there. But, there was no explanation for the sound. It was loud and, like, right there. Of course, when I was little, nothing scared me enough when I heard it for me to cry, but it literally made me break down in tears, and I was, like, freaking out, and I would not sleep in my room for the rest of the time I lived there. And if I did, I had to have lights. There was no way I was sleeping in there without lights. So, you know, all my stuff was in my room, I just never went in there, and, but my mom heard the rustling, so I was like, at least I'm not the only one, I'm not crazy. So I stayed in my sister's room. I don't know what it was, or why it was angry, whatever it was, but it was very angry at me. But that's the only way I can describe it, is a giant, well, not giant, but blinds being thrown across the room as hard as you could. And it was just weird. Now, it did sound like it was coming towards my window. Like if someone was to go from the other side of the room and throw them towards my window, that's what it sounded like. But my blinds were still attached and everything was fine. There was nothing out of place in my room, so I had no explanation for it. So yeah, that was one of my many experiences. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any ideas what it could have been, that'd be great. I mean, that's just one of the many. I'm not going to go in order of my experiences because I'm horrible at chronological order when it comes to that stuff, because then I'll remember something and then I'll be totally out of order anyways. So I'm just going to tell you the ones that I remember as I decided to make these. And yeah, so if you would like to, you can post a video response telling me your experience or if you had a similar experience. And I hope you all have a spooktastic day. Bye.